So it's been years at this point that I've been getting comments on all of our mop review videos saying, Skiz, you have to try out the Montana Street Dabbers. Where's the Montana Street Dabbers?
Where's Montana?
So I said, okay, the people want to see it, we're going to do it proper. I'm going to pick up every single size of these Montana Street Dabber mops and do a full surface tagging test with all of them. And if you're around this past December, you would have seen I put an order together on a graffiti site of some supplies, and I was pretty hyped to get my hands on all of the different Montana Street Dabbers. But that's when I realized something about these Street Dabber sizes. Wait a minute, there's only two? Yeah, there's only two sizes. But right now, I'm going to show you exactly which Street Dabbers we picked up, because we picked up more than two, and I'll tell you why in a second as well. Because after I show you them and tell you exactly what you need to know about the Street Dabbers here, I'm finally going to take all of your advice and test out the Street Dabbers on smooth polyplastic, glass, finished wood, all the surfaces that these nice juicy mops love to write on. And that way I can finally tell you guys at the end, are these actually better than just all of the other mops out there? Because based on a lot of what you guys say, a lot of people seem to think maybe, I don't know. All I'm saying is I've never heard a bad word about these, so they must be pretty good, I hope. So here are the ones we got. So the first one we unboxed here is the 10mm nib size 30ml reservoir Street Dabber in Blue Violet, also known as purple. I guess this is a good time to tell you that these have cotton nibs, so pretty standard but not as strong as they could be. These bad boys come in 11 different colors as well, so you do have some color variety to choose from there. And the second one you're seeing there on screen is the 18mm nib size 90ml Street Dabber. So in other words, this thing will pack a punch. And that one is in Guacamole Green. And I'll tell you a little bit more about the formula once we start our tagging test, but the third Street Dabber I wanted to show you guys is the 10mm size again, but this one is filled with the Montana Street Killer ink. Now we're going to be doing a whole separate video on the Street Killer ink specifically, so stay tuned and subscribe if you want to be notified when that video finally comes out as well. But right now, let's start our tagging test. Let's throw some names up there of our patrons and our Patreon crew, our channel member names, and our subscribers' names who have asked me for hit-offs, and we'll see, do these Montana Street Dabbers stand up to the competition, or do they blow it out of the water? Let's see.
Perfect.
Bigger sizes get a little bit messier, that's for sure, so it's like GR says, don't go tagging in your Crispies. So one thing I look for to try and help you guys understand what these mops are like, for those of you who haven't used them, is how are they similar to other mops? And the first thing I noticed about the paint formula in these Street Dabbers is, wow, this smells identical to the Grog paint formula. Both of which are alcohol-based paints. I'll be honest, I'd say the Montana is quite significantly thinner, but that's what it reminded me of. So it does have that sweet alcohol smell to it for sure. And right away, as we started using this, I could tell, wow, these are very, very squeezable, especially the 90ml. One thing I do want to say is special about this particular mop design. I know it looks very standard, but with this one in particular, you can feel almost immediately that, yeah, the places where you're squeezing, it's going to kind of stay a little bit narrower on whatever axis you're squeezing on, and that's going to become a nice, super controllable way for you to use this mop. And frankly, Montana did everything right with these mop bodies. They are both really nice and squeezable. I'd actually say the 90 milliliter is a little more squeezable than the 30 milliliter. That's probably because they're the exact same kind of plastic, but because this one has a larger diameter, easier to compress and squeeze. So as soon as we laid down that coffin tag, I will say this about the paint formula, it looked a little inconsistent, and frankly, that's kind of how it stayed. And that wasn't just exclusive to the guacamole green, and I made sure that it wasn't just me not squeezing enough. I really put some drips into these tags, and you know what? There's just that inconsistency. And before anyone says, yeah, well, finished surfaces, they do that. We've reviewed tons of stuff on this particular surface over the years, and most things hold up a little better in terms of consistency on this surface. It is what it is, I don't know. Something a little more telling about the paint consistency is when you use a dark color like this, and even the dark colors, you can really pick out the inconsistencies there, especially when I'm not going easy on the drips, you know, like it be drip. We're gonna test the opacity out just a little bit here quickly. It shows up better on camera, actually. As far as the nibs go, there's not actually that much to talk about there. These are standard cotton nibs. If you use them on surfaces that are nice and smooth, they'll last a fair while. If you take them to the freight yard and you're using them on like some kind of rough freight metal, they're not gonna last all that long. They just aren't made for that kind of thing. You know, use your mops what they're supposed to be used for. Pick out the most appropriate tool for your tagging needs and whatnot. But cotton nibs in general always leave a little bit to be desired. Keep that in mind. But the good thing about mop nibs that are standard sizes like 10mm, 18mm is, you know, you can replace the mop nibs. If you're looking to compare this against other mop reservoirs, I would say this is much, much more significantly squeezable than the Grog 25mm. Much more squeezable than the Molotow Dripstick as well. It really is a cut above the rest in terms of that squeezability and therefore comfort writing with. So Montana really has that going for it, and frankly that was what a lot of you guys told me before I got this mop. Whenever I did a review saying, look at how squeezable this mop is, I love it, you guys said, wait till you try the Montana Street Dabbers. And you know what? You were right. This one in particular, I'm liking it. One thing I will say, kind of circling back to the consistency aspect of this, these Montana Street Dabbers are unique in that they don't come with a mixing ball. Most mops, especially paint-filled mops, will have that mixing ball. Because these don't, you do have to shake them a little more, make sure that pigment is appropriately mixed in so that you're not going to get inconsistencies as much. I'll be honest though, I shook these quite a bit. There's not much else I can do. There's not like pools of pigment sitting at the bottom, so I think that's about as consistent as you can get them. Tagging on that wood surface there, even on the wood there where there's a little bit of texture to it, usually that does really well in terms of firming those lines up, making them nice and consistent. Still a little bit transparent there. I did think the wood really brought out the vibrancy of that green though, with the Kona tag and the Volk tag. Shout out to Kona and Volk. And hey, as far as those glass tags go, I did say the guacamole green was gonna pop on there. I think it did. Super happy with how that looks there. And you know what, for what it's worth, tagging on that glass surface, the purple held up really well. Looked super full, super true. Was really happy to see that. So we have literally done dozens and dozens of graffiti mop reviews specifically here on the channel. I'll link you in the corner to the playlist or in the description of all of them if you want to see if there's any mop reviews in there you want to check out. But my point is, because of all that, and because so many people have said, oh, the Montana Street Dabbers are just the best, I feel like I have at least a pretty comprehensive knowledge of what mops are out there, what ones could be the best, could not be the best. To put it simply, are these Montana Street Dabbers the best mops out there? Like with many other graffiti products, and a lot of you graph heads have heard me say exactly this on the channel time and time again, it's really up to personal preference. Now, I will say this, these Montana Street Dabbers are not overpriced. You picture Montana as being kind of pricey simply because although Montana spray paints are fairly high-end in terms of the price specifically, their mops don't seem to be as pricey. I got these for a pretty good deal, and I can honestly say the mop bodies themselves are really, really nice. I would love to continue using these. But are these the single most squeezable mops out there, which based on what everyone told me, I really thought they were going to be? No, they're not. One in particular that is a lot more squeezable that I found is the 003 sole tip. And if you want to see a full review to see how those sole tips compare to the Montana Street Dabbers, you can check that video on screen right now. Thanks again to the patrons and channel members. You can always join our Patreon crew or the channel memberships if they've launched yet to have your name permanently on our hit off list and get it tagged up in videos just like this. And of course, you'll get the exclusive content that goes along with it. I'll see you in that video soon. Until then, peace.